Joining us, the General Secretary of Canada Soccer, a guy that has been extremely busy but has made time for us, my friend and your friend out there, Canada, Peter Montopoli. Peter, welcome.
Thank you, Anthony. How are you?
I couldn't be more excited and I couldn't be more pumped and ready for the Canadian Premier League. But Peter, before we talk about that, I want to spend some time to talk about the legacy of a friend of yours, a friend of mine, and a guy that has done so much, leaving us now from Canada Soccer, Victor Montagliani. Talk about Peter, the friend, Peter, the guy that had the vision, Victor, that he did for Canadian soccer with Canadian Premier League, the World Cup bid now, the Women's World Cup, so much. Talk about what he's leaving for us.
Well, he's leaving a tremendous legacy for us to usher in a new era of football. I mean, we've had a great 10 years, and under Victor's leadership, the last 5 years as president, we won 2 bronze medals in the Olympics. Have never done that before. Hosted the most successful FIFA Women's World Cup. Has really taken the organization and made us relevant and recognizable in the domestic and international community, and overall leadership, basically, putting the CSA at the forefront of soccer in Canada, and that's where we needed to be, and it was under his leadership. In saying that, he also took on some big challenges. Many people forget the notion of the hijab, and Victor went, people don't know, he went right to the top of FIFA, says, you got to fix this. My country, this is not acceptable. And he was right, and FIFA fixed it. And that's the kind of leader he was, and he is, and he's going to take that to CONCACAF, and I'm very confident CONCACAF is going to rise to new levels under his leadership, and FIFA will as well with him as vice president. So we're losing a great man, but he's going somewhere where we need him to be within the Confederation to lead the Confederation.
Peter, he left you alone to do your job. He left your staff alone. He trusted you. He believed in you. And he many times left the big things for you to take care of while he was working behind the scenes tirelessly. How great is that to know that a guy like that, now that he's leaving, and you can look back and say, he did everything and he let us do our jobs. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's where his leadership was. He knew when to get involved and when not to get involved. Another example with the FIFA Women's World Cup, when we needed the big shoulders that Victor has in support for the artificial turf, he was there to fight that fight in a positive way, and with FIFA, to have FIFA recognize that they needed to do more and step up from that perspective and support artificial turf in our country, and they did. So he was excellent in knowing when to come in and when to move out, but he was also the big shoulders to lean on when we needed something, and it's something we will dearly miss.
Peter, your speech, I'm told, at Whistler was unbelievable when it came to the tribute to the legacy of Victor. I'm sad that I couldn't make it out there. I was stuck here because my boss, Dino Rossi, made his way out there, and he says, Anthony, you got to man the ship and you got to stay here to look after League One. But a person after person that I talked to said, Anthony, you should have heard Peter Montopoli's speech in regards to Victor Montagliani. He was talking about a friend, a leader, a pioneer, on and on. And I think that's important, Peter, that people realize the amount of time, the hours, the phone calls, the emails that he spent talking to people.
Yeah, and thank you very much, Anthony. We did miss you in Whistler. I wish you could have been there, but I understand what you had to do back here on the home front. Victor worked tirelessly for soccer in our country and for the Canadian Soccer Association, and never accepted a dollar in doing so. People forget that. The amount of time he put in as a volunteer surpassed anything that I've ever seen in my career, and I think it showed in terms of what we were able to achieve under his guidance and his leadership. And my speech was just a speech from the heart. It was a reflection of who he was as a man, who loves his family, loves his friends, loves football, and you put all three of those together with a little sprinkle of his Italian heritage all wrapped up in the Canadian flag. That's who Victor Montagliani is right there.
Beautiful.
Know that, Anthony.
Beautifully said. I'm getting chills. I'm getting goosebumps. You explaining it and saying it here now live on air in our show. Well done, Peter. God bless you for doing that. Let's turn our attention to Canadian Premier League because we know your time is limited. You've got a lot of requests in, so we won't keep you. Let's talk about this. This was a journey, a project, not just the last year or two, but going back 5 or 6 years. Victor Montagliani believed in it. You believed in it. John McGrain believed in it. Bob Young, who's got to be thanked. Scott Mitchell, Paul Byrne, who joined the journey. Dino Rossi, and so many others that I'm forgetting, and forgive me for that. But this is something that I fought for. You fought for, Peter, for our Canadian players, our Canadian coaches, our administrators, somewhere for them to call their own. And finally, Saturday, tears of joy. Peter, talk about it.
Well, yeah, it was a long road. It's a long process, but it's still ongoing, Anthony. There's still a lot of work to be done for the future. But the first hurdle was for the league, the official CPL, to be a league in membership of Canada Soccer. And as of today, 48 hours, it is a league in membership with 2 clubs that are clubs in membership, and that would be the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So it's a league in membership, and 2 clubs are in membership currently. And as we look to work through, and as the CPL looks to work through for additional ownership groups and look to bring this league up to the standards that are required to be the CPL and a national league for Canadians and by Canadians. And that's what we're looking to do. I was asked earlier today, and I'm going to answer it without you asking, if this is a league that will have a merger with USL and NASL and American clubs, and I said flat out no. It's not something that we've ever discussed because it's for Canadians by Canadians, and that's what we're moving forward with the CPL and the clubs in membership.
Well said, Peter. I'm glad you addressed that without me asking you. Bang on and well said, Peter. We know you got to go, so just very quickly, let's wrap this up and let's talk about how important this now is, Peter, for the young kids and youth clubs all across Canada and academies to now say, hey, I can dream to play for one day for Hamilton, Winnipeg, whoever, Saskatoon, Halifax, Mississauga, you name it. They actually have a dream, Peter, thanks to you and so many. This is what is so important because you and I both know, Peter, Canadians all over this world have been shown the door in many ways. I got a note that I sent to Victor. He was supposed to join us tonight, but he's in Bahrain, and he has promised to join me either Wednesday or Monday. But it's a very quick note, Peter. It's a player that's playing in Italy in the 3rd division, and it brought me to tears. He says, Anthony, he says, thank you. Thank you for fighting for us Canadian players. Thank you, Anthony, for doing what you did because I can come home now, Peter, and I can play in front of my family and friends and not be called the Americano. What does that mean to you, Peter?
Well, thank you for your passion and your honesty and fighting the fight, Anthony, if I could say it that way. Congratulations to you. It means that as Canadians, we should be very proud that we're embarking on a new path for our Canadian players. But I want to be careful and say this as well, Anthony, that, for 10 years we've also had now up to 5 professional clubs in our country, and they are doing an excellent job in their way. And I want to say that because this is not a reflection of MLS, it's not a reflection of USL, it's not a reflection of NASL, it's just a reflection of our country that we needed more. Currently in our country, we have less than 100 players professionally playing, and that includes players playing in USL and NASL, and for that matter, MLS, that are Canadians. Less than 100. And when I look at the teams that have qualified in the Hex for CONCACAF for 2018 FIFA World Cup, we take out Mexico, and if you can believe it, Mexico has over 7,000 registered professional players in their country. So we have less than 100, and we're competing against Mexico that has over 7,000. The other 5 remaining countries average 700. So they have 7 times more professional players than we do, but yet we got to compete against them and qualify for the big dance, the Men's World Cup. It's a difficult proposition if we don't have our structure in place. And this is realignment of our structure. And we're indebted to the 5 professional clubs that are currently investing, but we need more. It's just a case of needing more, and we shouldn't be ashamed of saying that. I think we should be proud of saying that, to be honest with you. And that's what we're trying to do, to level the playing field of who we're playing against in our confederation.
In 30 seconds or less, Peter, I think you would agree with me that we got to thank the provincial presidents, the districts, and we got to thank the leadership of Canada Soccer, formerly under Victor Montagliani, now under Stephen Reid, and yourself. I think it's important that we acknowledge the provincial presidents and districts as well, Peter.
Yes, they believed in it totally. A unanimous decision for the CPL. And, we haven't talked about women's soccer, but a lot of those memberships are investing heavily in women's soccer and the Rex programs. And we're not ashamed to say it. We're very proud that by 2020 we want to be the #1 women's team in the world. And those are the things we're doing. And Canada's coming out now. It's our coming out party this past decade and the next decade, bidding for a men's World Cup to 2026. We have 10 great years of a runway to make a difference, Anthony. We made a difference on the women's side. It's time for us to now make a difference on the men's side while we're continuing on the women's side.
Peter, you've made a difference. Thank you. God bless you for taking the time. God bless you for what you've done, all the miles, all the time, all the phone calls, emails that you've returned and done your part. It's not forgotten. It won't be forgotten. So I thank you, and all the Canadian supporters out there, thank you. Go get some rest because there's a lot of work to do. We've got to get it going. But in the meantime, keep doing what you're doing, Peter, and we thank you so much again for making time, my friend.
Thank you. Always my pleasure for you, Anthony, and keep up the great work you're doing. Thank you.